Welcome back. Today's explainer is going to unpack a truly incredible historical and biblical mystery. It's like a giant puzzle that spans thousands of years, crosses continents, and requires us to connect the dots between ancient apocalyptic literature and the exact mathematical structure of the biblical timeline. Today, we're diving deep into the mystery of the 81 Book Canon and a fascinating figure known as Seth's seventh generation Enoch. Okay, let's just jump right into this by looking at a very curious piece of text. Right in the New Testament, tucked away near the very end of the Bible in the book of Jude, we find this quote. Enoch, the seventh from Adam, prophesied about them. See, the Lord is coming with thousands upon thousands of his holy ones. It's an amazing, vivid prophecy about divine judgment. But if you're paying close attention to historical texts, you'll notice this presents a glaring anomaly. And that anomaly begs a massive question. Wait a second, where exactly did Jude get this prophecy? Because if you open up a standard Bible today and flip through the Old Testament, you literally will not find this text anywhere. It simply doesn't exist in the standard canon. To solve this mystery of the missing text, we can't just look at a Western Bible. We have to zoom way out globally and look at the entire landscape of Christian history. To solve this, we move to part 1, the 50 Christian hubs. Let's take a macro view of global Christian history to find where this ancient text actually survived. When we map out the entire landscape of Christian tradition across the world, we find that it's incredibly diverse. In fact, it's made up of exactly 50 primary administrative, liturgical, and theological hubs. These are distinct, self-governing, or traditionally unique bodies that basically form the foundation of global Christianity. Now, what's really interesting here is how those 50 hubs break down into 4 distinct branches. It shows us that the tradition is far from a monolith. Catholicism makes up the largest slice with 24 specific hubs. Then you've got Eastern Orthodoxy with 15 autocephalous, or self-governing hubs. Protestantism stems from 5 major historical families. And finally, we have Oriental Orthodoxy, which is made up of 6 distinct hubs. To find our missing puzzle piece, we turn to Section 2, the Ethiopian 81 Book Canon. We're zooming into one very specific ancient slice of that pie. So the Oriental Orthodox Communion consists of these 6 non-Chalcedonian churches. These groups actually split from the rest of the Christian world way back in 451 AD. And because they developed independently for centuries, they preserve some completely unique ancient traditions. I really want to pull special focus right now to the 4th one on our list, the Ethiopian Tewahedo Church. Here is the absolute crucial point. While Protestants generally use a Bible with 66 books, and Eastern Orthodox traditions use a canon with 78, the Ethiopian tradition uniquely preserves an incredible 81-book canon. By remaining somewhat isolated and fiercely protective of their early texts, the Ethiopian Tewahedo Church held on to ancient scriptures that the rest of the Christian world effectively lost or just set aside over time. And the absolute crown jewel of this Ethiopian 81-book canon is the Book of Enoch. It's an ancient Jewish apocalyptic text that was highly influential in the 1st century, and it is uniquely preserved in its entirety only within the Ethiopian tradition. This completely solves our mystery. When the author of Jude wrote his New Testament epistle, he was directly quoting from the Book of Enoch, a text that was widely read in his day and then meticulously protected by Ethiopian Christians for millennia. Now that we've found the missing book, we enter part 3, the Tale of 2 Enochs. Let's look at the actual biblical figure this book is named after. Because if you go back to the original text of Genesis, the genealogies actually give us a tale of 2 different men named Enoch, and biblical authors used them intentionally to draw sharp theological contrasts. This brilliantly illustrates humanity's 2 divergent trajectories after the fall. First, you have Cain's Enoch. He's the 3rd generation in Cain's line. His father, Cain, built an earthly physical city and dedicated it to him, representing the pursuit of earthly permanence. But in stark contrast, we have Seth's Enoch. He is the 7th generation from Adam. His legacy isn't an earthly city. He dedicated his life to spiritual intimacy. The text simply says he walked with God. This builds to an absolute climax in Section 4, the 7th generation contrast, because these genealogies aren't just lists of names. They are a profound prophetic blueprint. Look at this incredible literary setup. The 7th generation in Cain's line is a man named Lamech. Lamech represents the ultimate peak of human corruption. His family invents iron weapons, and Lamech himself is a murderer who boasts that if Cain is avenged 7-fold, he will be avenged 70 times 7. But juxtapose that against the seventh generation of Seth's line, our guy, Enoch. He represents the absolute peak of human righteousness. Instead of bringing death with iron weapons like Lamech, Enoch escapes death entirely. God simply takes him away. The math here is mind-blowing, and it echoes all the way into the New Testament. In the ancient Greek translation of Lamech's boast, the phrase for 70 times 7 is ebdemontikis epta. Well, when Peter asks Jesus in the Gospel of Matthew how many times he should forgive someone, Jesus uses that exact, specific Greek phrase to reply, 70 times 7. Jesus is deliberately quoting Lamech here. He flips Lamech's demand for infinite vengeance into a New Testament covenant of infinite forgiveness, literally pausing the clock of judgment and opening up the dispensation of grace. Which brings us to part 5, the biblical trail of Enoch. Let's track how Seth's seventh-generation Enoch weaves his way through the rest of the text. Enoch wasn't just some footnote in early Genesis. His legacy echoes straight through history. He starts in the original account, walking with God. He's preserved in the historical ledger of First Chronicles. In the deuterocanonical book of Sirach, he's praised in the hymn to the ancestors. In the New Testament, Luke traces Jesus' lineage straight through him. The author of Hebrews honors him. And finally, Jude uses his prophetic words. The book of Hebrews gives us the ultimate summary of his life. By faith, Enoch was taken from this life so that he did not experience death. He pleased God. That right there is the core takeaway. It's his faith in the unseen that bridges the ancient apocalyptic texts protected in Ethiopia right to the very heart of the gospel. Enoch teaches us that even as the world around us builds its earthly cities and forges its iron weapons, there is always an invitation to simply walk with God. Which brings us to an incredible final thought. If the isolated Ethiopian canon faithfully protected the Book of Enoch for centuries, solving a New Testament mystery right under our noses, what other ancient truths, what other pieces of historical brilliance are waiting to be discovered inside those 50 Christian hubs? There is so much historical mystery out there, just waiting for those willing to look outside their standard framework. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. See you next time.